Good morning, everyone. Do you hear me? Bom.
Organized by Baylor University College and focusing on the crossroads in the digital era, trying to find the empowering, inclusive, and innovative education for sustainable development. I am honored to be here together with the rector of Baylor University, Professor Dr. George Sinani, and also the very distinguished Professor Dr. Nicoleta Mita from the University of Tirana, and Associate Professor Tidita Abdurrahmani, the Dean of the Faculty of Business and Technology at Baylor University. The first speaker of this webinar will be Professor George, who is a professor of philosophy, but also of education, and has been contributing in various international relationship consortiums, and also focused on the history of the political thought, the philosophy of international relations, flow, and juridical logic. He will be approaching education from the perspective of transitional periods, better said, education and human dignity. His speech, also as the speeches of the other participants, will be between 15 and 20 minutes, so to make room for your questions and your also for your other discussions. Thank you in advance, Professor. Floor is yours.
My paper focus on the education and human dignity in transitional period, which is the tough question after the totalitarian regime. Democracy is a matter of education, but not merely of methodology. For this reason, freedom of democracy depends on the quality of the members that are part of a certain society. A society will produce evil and negativity to the extent of its vice and lack of values. That is the reason why society cannot possibly remain indifferent towards the values of its members. Values are taught starting from a tender age, and the vocation of an educator is not only to provide information and knowledge, but also to contribute in the growth of the good citizen. Therefore, it is necessary to revitalize people's intellectual and perceptual dimension as a precondition for the formation of the individual citizen of this digital contemporary era. A significant principle of a democratic society is related to the concept of citizenship, which in turn is the source of the power in the public sphere. It goes without saying that a person may be a member of society without being a citizen. However, if citizens as engaged individuals do not have access in the public space and are directly or indirectly kept within their private sphere, they cannot put pressure on government officials. This significant principle is expressed in Montesquieu's famous quote, "The citizen can die and the man can remain." Le citoyen peut périr, l'homme peut rester, which point out the lack of engagement. Montesquieu claims seems define a pattern, witnessed and continuously proven viable in various ages. Any sort of despotism, ensuring existence and prolong its life by relying on weak characters, characterized by conformity and obedience rather than a critical approach. From a different perspective, the philosopher approach is to analyze who is responsible for enhancing a critical approach in the people. So that is the reason that it's essential for any society, as obvious in the Enlightenment philosophy, that form the basis of the development on an age of change, seemingly no different from one we are going through. According to this understanding, citizenship means public freedom, participation in public life, and this is based on not only the implementation of freedom of conscience, but also the competence. In short, a person became a citizen through education. A man who is not guided by civic education and knowledge remained a barbarian. Democracy demands its citizens are equipped with specific qualities. Individuals who are master of themselves, who are protective to their freedom and autonomy, and who are willing to cooperate with others. The spreading of hatred and bigotry is not democratic, and this is a principle that lies in the foundation of the democratic society. The fundamental quality, in fact, does not need comments, but it would like to quote a piece of advice of Alexis Tocqueville to European politicians, which he drew from the American experience. And I quote, "It will seem as if the ruler of our time sought only to use men in order to make great things. I wish that they will try a little more to make great men, that they would set less value on the work and more upon the workman. And they would never forget that the nation cannot long remain strong when every man belonging to it is individually weak, and that no form of combination of social polity has yet been devised to make an energetic people out of a community of pusillanimous and enfeebled citizens." End of quote. Tocqueville, the philosopher who pointed out the problem with democracy, additionally considered the moralization of democracy essential. Otherwise, democracy may shift to tyranny. As an example, he used American democracy. To him, the American moralized democracy through religion, because religion compels people not to keep their gaze only on the earth, that is, not to worry only about their own personal comfort. Instead, he required people to also observe the heavenly, that is, the implementation of high spiritual values. In the rapidly changing and not necessarily untroubled area we are living, the first task of the education and educator is to commit ourselves to become ourselves, to remain faithful to our core, and this is achieved by asking ourselves some basic, if you like, existential question, including what the purpose of our existence is, what is a dignified life, and how our relationship with others are built. In order to answer their question, education must obey the human factor. In other words, the dignified existence of the human, the individual, must be the first objective of education. It should be clarified, not the dignity of certain person in power, that is the boss, be it despot, emperor, Führer, first secretary, any government authority or the similar, but the dignity of human, so that he is unable to become himself. Nietzsche would shed light in this underlying that we are, but we must become. And the process of enabling to become who they are put the education of the new generation in front of the most difficult and at the same time the noble task. It should be emphasized that education has a close relation with the past. Italian philosopher Benedetto Croce would rightly emphasize that every past lives in the present, also in the sense that people turn to the past because something in the present or the present itself triggers them too. Our digitalized present is not different. For this reason, our relationship with the past defines our present, and the perceiving of the past for what it is essential for the building of a successful education strategy. Of a different page on education strategy that emphasize the human, and the human goes through the stimulation of criticism. That is a critical approach. And I mentioned here a saying of a priest, Father Italian, albanologist Giuseppe Valentini, who in 1935 wrote the importance of the critical approach, which has to be accurate, complete, distinguishable. And he summarized the function of criticism, maintaining that criticism is a lantern, and like the lantern which serves to light what is not seen, criticism also serves to shed light on what is the dark. Criticism should be an encouragement, never a whip. And concerning the criticism, we have to keep in mind our past during the totalitarian regime. So for this perspective, the contemporary education strategy should be teach precisely the normally critical approach by implementing this very same approach. And Montesquieu underlined that purpose of education, of the education system in despotism, is to grow up good slaves. The risk of an education that nurtures mental slavery as the norm are to be observed in the certain parts of Albania and not only. During the second half of 20th century, education sought to make people, particularly the youth, slaves of the system. Although the experience totalitarianism are much graver than the French political philosopher considered, who's among us who have experienced and know how it is like to live in a totalitarian regime, must reflect deeply on Montesquieu's criticism of the despotic system. The importance of education in a free society is obviously in what the Enlightenment philosopher John Locke privately defended in these thoughts concerning education. He famously claimed that it is education which makes the great difference of mankind. The little and almost inseparable impression of our tender infancy have very important and lasting consequences. And there is, as in the fountains in some river, where the gentle application of the hand turns the flexible water into channels that make them quite contrary courses, and by this little direction, given them at first in the source, they reserve different tendency and arrive at least at very remote and distant place, conclude Locke. In this slide, it should also be noted that misunderstanding and misinterpretation of the concept of freedom, a problem related to the concept of authority, are addressed with freeing education. There is a widespread misconception of authority. Authority is tightly related with the creation and perception of the self. If an individual, especially an educator, is not master of his true self, this authority can be attained. There is no authority in enslaved minds. In other words, authority is primarily the result of intellectual and moral integrity of educator, as he sees the own that influences the formation of the self within the young people. As previously hinted, another objective of education is that education should focus on the present. As the saying goes, the past is gone and tomorrow is yet to come. So life is today. Surely, some might argue that in totalitarian regime, it is also claimed that education should be related to life. Yet, in such system, education is realized to that sort of virtual life, the power in totalitarian Albanian party, not with the real life. The concept that education should be related to life at the present means provide people, especially the youth, with the opportunity to understand today's life. From different perspectives, education should strive to ensure participation in factual every life, which means tangible engagement in which everyday reality has an essentially social piece. In this perspective, digitalization should particularly focus on this inclusive perception of an engagement with the present and with life. In other words, the inevitable incorporation of digitalization in education is indeed education that arches a better understanding of today's life for a better future. However, the digitalization of education should also be in line with the principles of enabling education. That is, education in this area should be as cautious as always not to fall in the pit of enslaving education. On the contrary, the freeing and critical approach are to be taught and urged at the cost of being the subject of criticism themselves. This brings up another similarly vital issues, the realization of a free, better seeing, freeing education in contemporary condition. Quite frequently, the issues is addressed by demanding an overall revision of method. It should be noted there is no standard method that can be used in everyday given situation in the present either. For this reason, it is necessary to constantly work and adopt methods that address the changing issues that demand of daily life with a bricklayer approach. I have to resume, another objective is the education with the values, and especially the moral values, and we have to keep in mind there's this is concern of our representative of thinker of during the years 30 of the last century, which raised the risk of the manipulation of the people. We have to face during this period to conclude, we have to find two risk of manipulation. During the totalitarian regime, it is used the manipulation of the people by preparing good slaves. Now, during the time of digitalization, is the risk to use technology for manipulating the mind of the people by linking them with the political authority. So the values and the risk of politicization of education can be put out by cultivating the critical mind. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Sinani. It was enlightening to see this interesting comparison between the totalitarian regimes and the risk that the digitalization could turn into a regime that through technology could manipulate, and as you put in Montesquieu's words, create us into good slaves. It is important to see how Professor Sinani said that education should still do what Nietzsche said, enable us become who we are. Thank you again, Professor. And now let me introduce the distinguished Professor, Dr. Nicoleta Nita, a full professor in the Department of Pedagogy and Psychology at the Faculty of Social Sciences at the University of Tirana, and an adjunct professor at Clemson University, the USA. She's the author of numerous publications, and she has contributed to the challenges of the transitional period in Albania and in Kosovo, to be honest, to enable us put the curricula together with together closer to those of the EU. And today she will be talking about the challenges of the digital age universities. Thank you, Professor Nicoleta. Thank you for coming. The floor is yours.
Hello to everybody. I will present today a topic related to challenges of the digital age for universities. It's okay. Thank you. There are four main issues that I included in my presentation. The first one is international context in the digital age. The second, international policies on digitalization of higher education, digital pedagogy, challenges of the digital transformation of universities. Okay. Due to the rapid technological revolution and globalization, the field of education has undergone radical change over the past few decades. People in the modern era need to make the transition to digital lifestyles. Because digitalization occurs in many fields, today young people are forced to become a digital learner. This transition to digital technology marks the start of the development of novel approaches that will eventually replace conventional methods. Since 2006, digital competence is one of the key competencies in the EU framework for lifelong learning. In these slides, you can see that in this context, globalization is one of the main factors. And based on the context, there are prepared 21st century skills. And in these skills is included digital competence as a very important skill for the people in the 21st century. Based on this context, it is developed 21st century pedagogy. And we are trying to replace these conventional methods with the new one approaches. In this context, the universities are facing many challenges. A number of international policy documents on digitalizations are developed during the last decade. I will present some of them that are related to the university issues. One of them is the future of higher education, the document prepared by UNESCO. And there are foreseen 4 scenarios for the higher education. The first one is open higher education, the second technology-enabled network learning hubs, the third one, ecologically sustainable higher education, and the fourth, development-driven higher education. A UNESCO Roadmap 2022 aims to reformulate the ideas and practices of higher education to ensure sustainable development for the planet and humanity. Another document is Digital Education 2021-2027, action plan prepared by European Union. And this document is a renewed European Union policy initiative that sets out a common vision of high quality and inclusive and accessible digital education in Europe. There are foreseen 2 priorities and 13 actions in this document. Another document is European Declaration on Digital Rights and Principles for Digital Decade, prepared by European Union. And there are 6 areas: people at the center, solidarity and inclusion, freedom of choice, participation, safety and security, and sustainability. These are the principles that are taken into the consideration when universities and schools prepare a strategy for digitalization of education. Another important document is European Framework for the Digital Competence of Educators. In the context of digitalization, there is a need for development of digital skills for educators, teachers, and learners as well. In this document are foreseen 3 components: educators' professional competencies, educators' pedagogical competencies, and learner competencies. These are very good recommendations that must be taken into consideration for the training of teachers and students as well, as the digital competence is one of the competencies in the framework of lifelong learning. A European Training Foundation has prepared a document on digital skills and competence and digital and online learning. Digital competencies, job-specific digital skills, and digital skills for ICT professionals are included in this document. There are foreseen as well the competencies for organizations. How can they prepare to meet the challenges of the digitalization transformation? One of the most important documents for higher education is Bologna Digital 2020. And this is a white paper. The aim of this white paper is to provide a basis for public discourses and foundation of strategic policy development and how to harness the digitalization of higher education in the European higher education area. These documents are useful for references references for the universities in the process of digitalization. If we will take into consideration these documents, then we will prepare better documents for ourselves. Another topic that I want to discuss today is digital pedagogy. Digital pedagogy refers to teaching methods that incorporate digital tools. But at the same time, this digital pedagogy include pedagogical orientation, practices, and digital pedagogical competencies. It is very important because we are in the process of replacing old methods with the new ones based on the technology. Teachers should study and refine digital pedagogy for at least these 4 reasons. Today's students are part of the first generation for whom digital technology has always been an integral part of daily life, and which has come to be seen as both of necessity and way of life. The second one is their immediate environment is digital, and the principle of portability means that students can participate in class regardless of their schedule and location. The third one, it facilitates a paperless, quicker, and more efficient workplace. And the fourth reason is foster critical thinking skills, as it is easier for machine to investigate abstract and complex ideas thanks to the rise of digital technology. This digital pedagogy has integrated a 3-part: digital, online, and open. And digital means learning and teaching supported by ICT, online learning and teaching supported by the internet and web, and open learning and teaching including open resources, educational resources. 3 general trends in higher education are now impacting the direction of digital pedagogy. Open education, that includes open planning, open products, and open reflection. Critical pedagogy. Critical pedagogy is therefore not only concerned with openness and cost, but also with breaking down and critiquing power in the student-instructor relationship and involving students in planning, direction, and assessment of course learning and goals. And the third trend is emerging technologies. There are many problems that are discovered by observations and researches. Lack of digital strategy of universities. Universities are including in the process of digital transformation, but they are not prepared in a political way. Let's say they don't have strategies how to implement digital transformation. The legal framework does not serve as a reference for the orientation, organization, regulation, and development of the teaching and learning space in higher education institutions. For example, in Albania, the law of higher education of 27 2007 was included the distance education, but the law of 2015 doesn't include this distance education, and we had problems during pandemic because we had no legal support, and we solved problems as we solved. Digitalization of the traditional approach instead of using modern approaches. This is a big problem because we are making things just using technology, but we are not changing approaches and methods. Inadequate level of mastery of digital skills. Students and teachers are not well prepared to use technology and to integrate and to use effectively technology that they have in their disposal. Management problems. Universities are not supporting by a management digital supporting center for the activities in this time. A lack of technical equipment, virtual classrooms, electronic laboratories, etc. Lack of quality internet connection among individual participants in the educational process in connection with their place of residence. Insufficient provision of individual computers for all participants in the educational process, and few social interactive spaces. Challenges of digital transformation of universities are many, but I group them in some groups. Digital strategy. Universities are facing problems with digital strategy. Higher education institutions should set up in their strategies clear and specific goals towards the digital transformation. The second group, pedagogical methodologies and curricular changes. It is now an imperative to develop a new education paradigm due to the emerging digital connective technologies and educational innovations. Social innovations in higher education institutions, while technologies innovation is a critical component of future economic growth. Social innovation is equally important in building social capital and in improving life chances, for example, through social inclusion, community building, and higher level skills development. Another a challenge related to digital learning and distance education has emerged as a pivotal approach in disseminating social innovation ideas and new knowledge, and developing relevant digital skills and competencies for the digital transformation. This is a slide with a digital transformation process in context, digitalization, and digital transformation. There are 5 components or steps: digitize information, organize information, automate process, streamlining process, and transform the institution. The university, as a conclusion, the university must accelerate its digital transformation, the transformation inducted, driven and supported by the technological revolution. So we are living in a new age. This is digital age, and we are facing many challenges, but we have capacities to challenge these challenges. So we need leaders with vision, but we need at the same time the skilled teams that will support implementation of the vision. But according to my experience, if we will have at first a digital strategy, but real according to our needs and possibilities, and if we will train students and teachers as well, if we will improve infrastructure and we'll cooperate and implement best practices of other universities, then we will be successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Mita. It was a very enlightening presentation, and I would like to especially underline the point when Professor says that underlines the opportunity of how digitalization could foster critical thinking and the issue that we have in the Balkans in relation to the lack of digital strategies, and how when we have this potential, also compatible with Professor Georgi said before, when we have the opportunity of digitalization, we still go as, and I am quoting, digitalize the traditional approach. Thank you very much. It was very enlightening. I now want to introduce the Dean of the Faculty of Technology of Business at Bader University, a dear friend, and Professor Associated Dr. Tidita Abdurrahmani, a lecturer, a researcher in humanities, English studies, and she is going to offer her view in relation to digitalization in higher education and sustainable development goals. So also talking about how we could go for sustainable development goals, the challenges and the perspectives. Thank you, Professor Tidita. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Professor Donna. My presentation is a little bit of follow-up of Professor Nicoleta also started presenting some of the impacts of the digitalization of higher education, but at the same time, it's also a linkage to the dimension of sustainability and in which way it shows, in which way the digitalization of higher education is at the same time trying to meet the guidelines of the sustainable development goals posed by UNESCO and also required as a policy to be embraced by all the higher education era. First of all, e-learning many times comes to us as an idea that it's new, newly coined term, it's a new concept, it's something which newly entered our agenda and especially was more emphasized during the COVID pandemics. But these quotes here, one from Thomas Edison of 1922 and the other one from Sidney Pressey of 1924, makes us believe that really we are on the new same old crossroads. So e-learning was like online learning, educational technology, computer-based training, and web-based training as we know it today has its roots deep in the early decades of the 20th century. Nowadays, we might think that e-learning does not stand for electronic learning anymore, but it stands for enhancement of learning rather than a replacement of it. The first quote is from Sidney Pressey in 1924. He was inventor of the automatic teacher, the first electronic device used in schools. the automatic teacher was essentially a primitive Scantron bubble sheet testing machine with the cost of just $15. It was half the amount required to educate a student for a whole year during that era. And this machine worked by requiring children to answer each question correctly before going on to the next one. 30 years after Press's inventions, the representative of behaviorism, Skinner, created the teaching machine to promote self-management or to guide the way how students think and respond to stimuli in their environment. This was a mechanical device with questions and rewards for correct answers. The machine gave students immediate and regular reinforcement and designed to keep them engaged with novel materials. Nowadays, we are still immersed into that e-learning environment, but now computer-supported collaborative learning has taken its place. We are speaking of e-learning 2.0. We are speaking of social, collaborative, networked environments where learners work together in tasks and share information and knowledge. Some of the tools of the computer-supported collaborative learning that we know about are virtual classrooms, wikis, blogs, podcasts, and virtual worlds. This is Skinner with his invention of the teaching machine. Step by step, we are moving into digital transformation of higher education, and we're moving into a post-digital reality. And the digital transformation requires 3 dimensions, most of all. And these 3 dimensions are a cultural shift or a shift of the mindset, a workforce shift, a shift in the way how teachers and students interact with one another, and a shift in the way how they make use of technology, and a technological shift in the sense of the, let's say, electronization further of the technological devices. So the cultural dimensions includes a shift in the approach to how campus leaders interact, an emphasis on change management, and a move towards a bigger institutional agility and flexibility. To a certain degree, the cultural dimension has to do with the shift in the leadership, in the way how we see university leadership, how we manage change, and how we embrace it and further it to the other dimensions. Digital transformation has to do with shifts in the workplace, with professional development of teachers, and also with universities enabling and propelling new business models, improve student outcomes, different teaching and learning methods, and new research capabilities. We know nowadays and more universities are enhancing the collaboration with the businesses, the spin-offs, the interrelation with companies, so that students are step by step familiarized with the entrepreneurship world, and so that step by step they get the right skills for properly entering into the market once they graduate. One of the scholars, a Greek scholar, Kakis, says that by 2022, our blended learning will be 50% of that is the blended learning dedicated to core technical competencies, including personalized learning and online content here, while the rest of it, the rest of 50% is interdisciplinarity, creativity, innovation, solving problems, and so on. We are on the face of the 4th industrial revolution, but we are also, what we said, into deeply merging into society 5.0 and post-digital reality. The Industrial Revolution places in front of us challenges of big data, integrating Internet of Things, cloud, machine learning, artificial intelligence, data science, while at the same time it has a transformative effect on industry, while it moves from just manufacturing to health, and it requires intervention in all levels of education. As said, when it comes to education, the pandemic forced the world to adopt digital distance learning as a survival response. It was a survival response. In this way, we grew much closer and faster towards a post-digital reality, a reality in which digital technology is so infused in every aspect of human life that we hardly ever notice that. In fact, we start noticing it whenever we miss it or whenever something is going wrong with it. The post-digital is not something to be feared about. It serves humanity instead of humanity serving it. But this is also one of the aims of Society 5.0. Universities and colleges are becoming more flexible in providing access to students. They are shifting to remote and hybrid instructions. Students are getting more opportunities to learn independently and at their own pace. The Internet of Things is becoming more of a common place. It has become so integrated into people's lives that we are dependent on it for texting, emailing, voice calling, shopping, bill paying, video streaming, listening to music, that we hardly notice our dependence on it. The post-digital is the era of the approaching Industry 5.0 or Society 5.0, which is claimed to be reached approximately about the year 2030. And it's a liminal space of transition from the fourth industrial revolution to the fifth industrial revolution. In the emerging post-digital era, there are emerging educational technologies like AI or artificial intelligence, extended reality, mobile learning, adaptive learning, live streaming, simulated learning, and immersive classrooms, which are a transition to the 5.0 society, a human-centered society that attempts to balance economic development and social development. But what's the problem with that? More and more universities are applying in projects, capacity building projects, which aim at the development of OER courses, which aim at the development of micro-credentials for the programs, which aim at the development of more hybrid and blended ways of learning. But on the same time, they are a little bit missing on and forgetting on the human dimension. They are giving more and more emphasis on the technological dimension while they are skipping the need for intensified interactions in between human beings. They are skipping on the social dimension while they are bringing more and more emphasis on the technological dimension. These are some of the challenges. More active learning tasks are required. Assessment needs to be, let's say, reshaped in order to also promote student learning and promote student proper feedback. There should be a blending in expertise. University lecturers can no longer be just academicians who lecture, but they should also be very good professionals of the market who are able to bring into the classes an integrated curriculum. Curriculum needs to be reconceptualized so that all the team members involved in programs have common goals and understandings and share the same way towards those goals and understandings. excellence needs, or the university excellence needs to find new ways of being measured. So it needs to be demetricized. Internationalization for many years has been considered as a way of opening up the curriculum and opening up the dimensions of the universities to the other foreign universities, but this does not need to be considered as colonization. So to be internationalized does not necessarily mean to get from the other universities en bloc, but to develop your own originality as a higher education institution as well. Inclusive learning. Many times we think about technology, but sometimes we forget the marginalized strata or the students with several disabilities. Developing long-term confident researchers. Minding student well-being and mental health. Many times when students get more and more attached to their appliances, we end up having students that no longer socialize as they used to, and in this way their their well-being and mental health is of the students and of the staff is also impacted. More and more universities are having a reorientation towards sustainability. Nowadays, in the digitalization era, in the 5.0 society, and in the post-digital higher education, let's say, landscape, many universities are forgetting of the sustainable development goals. The sustainable development goals were decided in 2015 and put action in 2016 by the United Nations. They were part of the 2030 agenda of sustainable development, which marked a transition from the Millennium Development Goal towards a new level of topic coverage and commitment. There are 17 formulated sustainable development goals. They deal with a broad range of societal challenges, including social dimension challenges, ecological challenges, economical challenges. They are not silos, but they are goals which encourage synergies between one or several goals, and in this way demand from universities emphasis on partnership, collaboration, policy making together, and accelerating their base for achieving these goals. These are an image of the 17 sustainable development goals, and quality education is one of them. Quality education is also related to the idea of ESD, which is Education for Sustainable Development. Target 4.7 of Goal 4 says, by 2030, all learners acquire knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development, including, among others, through education for sustainable development and sustainable lifestyles, human rights, gender equality, promotion of culture of peace and nonviolence, global citizenship, and appreciation of cultural diversity and of culture's contribution to sustainable development. If we see, these are the 5 P's of sustainable development, which universities need to take into consideration while trying to enhance their digitalization plans. And this is planet, linking education to less environmental degradation, which means developing policies which are more environmental friendly. People, no person left behind, and contributing to attaining sustainable livelihood. Peace, contributing to diverse, harmonious societies. Prosperities, education contributing to reduce poverty and stimulate green and inclusive economies. And partnership, universities aiming at ensuring adequate financing, policy coherence, and multi-sector capacity. So building up linkages with the businesses so that they are more, let's say, sustainability friendly. This is an image of how digital transformation has come into higher education through virtual reality, gamifications, personalized learning, artificial intelligence, redesigning learning spaces by making them more environmentally friendly and by making them also more, let's say, electronically oriented by introducing chatbots and so on. The priority action areas for universities include advancing policy or policy making, transforming the learning and training environments, professionalism and capacity building of educators and trainers, finding ways to mobilize more and more youngsters, and accelerating sustainable solutions at local level. Universities that have tried to bring together sustainability measures and digitalization measures have come to the conclusion that they have got four lessons learned. First of all, they have needed to align technology with the system-wide strategies, which means that sustained success in educational technology initiatives is based on an integrated model of aligning the multiple goals and needs of education system with the broader national digital policies. If we do not host them into the broader national policies, that will not be successful enough. Maintaining organizational autonomy. So universities need to establish dialogues with stakeholders so that they agree on the benefits of integrating technology and on the impact of these benefits on the stakeholders involved. Exploring novel ways to scale education technology. So more and more universities need to scale strategies such as public-private partnerships and collaboration with academic institutions by, in the same way, contributing to sustainability and implementation of an education sector plan. And lastly, prioritizing monitoring, evaluation, and learning. So interventions in universities need to be made more sustainable by incorporating a learning system as a whole. This learning system allows to monitor and evaluate plans and make corrections when needed without altering the expected outcomes. What are some of the latest advancements in digital learning, and what are some trends looking ahead, and which are some of the threats of these trends? So hybrid and personalized learning, the hybrid teaching model was already solidified as standards. There are, throughout many universities, there are platforms of personalized learning, enabling students to learn at their own pace, optimizing knowledge retention and time efficiency. There was more investment in robust digital infrastructure. Universities and business schools started focusing more on the curricula on digital skills while trying to prepare the students for the technical job market. Artificial intelligence. We expect to see more advanced systems capable of dynamically adapting content to students' needs. AR and VR are expected to receive greater use in the classrooms, especially in the classrooms that have to do with the sciences like medicine, engineering, arts, and so on. Sustainability will be more into educational programs, and more will be promoted of the development of green technologies. The Internet of Things has been receiving more and more attention on the campuses. There are more and more devices that control, let's say, student participation, control waste of electricity. Security is becoming more internet oriented, while blockchain technology and chatbots and MOOCs and big data analytics are also receiving more and more attention. In the end, I'm just taking two of the let's say latest developments, MOOCs and big data analytics. They are for sure the developments which have revolutionized the higher education. But they have got their own challenges as well, and their own raising concerns. For example, for the massive open online courses, they are highly individualized. They give little incentive to collaborate. They are based on unclear business models. They are some of them are free, some of them are not free access, and this makes them less likable to be used on a large scale. While regarding big data and learning analytics, it comprises on less focus on pedagogy and learning. It does give less information on how data can be used by students. It gives less space for collaboration. It's mainly individual focus. And it gives less an idea of how teaching and learning in their interactive dimension do affect even the way how we measure effectiveness of collaboration. In the end, I want to close by saying that from my own personal experience, I'm part of several evaluation groups of capacity building programs in higher education. There is an increased tendency of universities applying with projects that focus on OERs, on MOOCs, on big data and learning and analytics. More and more universities are understanding the importance of the relationship to the companies through let's say to the market through the setup of spin-off companies by universities, or through the development of micro credentials, which focus on giving students exclusive technological skills. But what we recognize in these applications is that more and more money is being invested on infrastructure, more and more money is being invested on development of software, but the human dimension is being missed. And many times whenever we give recommendations, we say, okay, ripple effect, okay, development of proper technologies and development of proper platforms and software, but enable space for more interactivity, for more socialization, and for more teamwork instead of individualized learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Tidita. It was an enlightening presentation, and I would invite you to come closer to us so that we can receive the questions for all the panelists. I would like to underline something that really appealed to me during your presentation, and it was that while going for digital, at least in my reading, while going for inclusive education, we are not going for colonization. And this is and especially the second P of the 5 Ps, which, thank you very much for underlining the organizational autonomy and also the human aspects in this challenged era. So I think these were the presentations. Thank you to all of them, and thank you to all of you for being with us to this point. Please, if anybody has any comments or any questions, please let us know. Okay, I will wait a little bit more. Maybe here, any comments? So, okay, I will give the word to one of the present professors of Bader University, Dr. Brikena Smiley, and she will be asking her questions or making her comment. Thank you.
As a person who is educated in humanities, and it's okay. Okay. As a person who is educated in humanities, in the respect of this era. Okay. I want to ask or to make the question that do you think, for both of you, Tidita and Professor, do you think that times come to propose that University of Albania University has to propose digital humanities in their programs? Figuring out that we are having challenges in to maintain these kind of programs in our universities.
Okay. In fact, Albanian universities, it's already time that they step in with proposals of programs into digital humanities. In fact, according to me, this should have been done earlier. In Albania, we do have a shift in, let's say, student-driven demands towards from the humanities into the hard sciences and into technology. And because of this, many universities had to close their programs into humanities in order to open up to respond to the demand of the market and to open up to the new required programs. For me, this should have been done earlier because it would have been a smoother transition. Instead of having programs closed, we could have had university programs revised and let's see, reorganized from humanities into digital humanities, because in this way we would have preserved tradition, we would have embraced the new trends of technology, and we would have, to a certain degree, not even suppressed the desires of students who still are fond of humanities and still find themselves as the future professionals of humanities.
Thank you for your question. I will say that one of solutions can be interdisciplinarity. And if we will cooperate with other fields, then we can create synergy, and with this synergy we can solve the problems. In reality, we have problems in humanities because the market is losing some of jobs in this field, and then we will think how to approach in this situation. And if we will interrelate, and if we will think for interdisciplinary programs, then we can solve the problem, and then we can integrate these digital humanities better than now.
Thank you, Professor. Okay, any other comments here within or online? I don't know if we have any comments online. There was somebody, I think, that wanted to comment just a little bit earlier. Hafsa, please read the question. In the message part. Any raised hands, maybe? Okay. Any questions? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think that this is it. Thank you very much for being here. It was a pleasure. You know, it was a special day for me. So thank you very much. And I hope to see all of you inside, enlightening events. Thank you very much to also the EUMMAS team. See you next time.